So we are recording this call just to make everyone aware. And I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you guys a little slideshow of some of the things coming up in NOAA. If you've been to our calls before, you know the drill. You know this is what we do. Um, I'm assuming you can all see my screen. I hate to ask that every time, but you never know, and I don't want to talk for 15 minutes without. Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Casey Greer, and I'm NOAA's virtual program coordinator. So I put together all these NOAA Connections calls, and we're really excited to have you all tonight. I just want to go over quickly the NOAA call guidelines. You get these in the email, so if you really want to take some time and read them over, you can, but I'll just do the quick bullet points of be respectful, language matters, make space for all voices, keep discussions respectful, assume good intent, Zoom name matching, and host discretion. So, like I said, those are in your email if you want to ever look over those again. And just the other disclaimer that the views and opinions shared during these NOAA Connections calls are those of individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of NOAA. We value open dialogue and diverse perspectives within our community. All right. In case you missed it, I want to let you know of some things coming up in the land of NOAA Connections, but also just NOAA in general. All of this should be on our website on albinism.org. So if you want to check it out or sign up for any of these calls after, you can find those on albinism.org. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, our email list. There are many ways to stay um, you know, about what's going on. So here are our June connections calls. And actually, as you can see, this is our last one on the June list because we're about to be in July. So that July list is coming out really soon, and most of it's already on the website actually for July. But I'm going to highlight a few of the calls coming up in July. So we have a Doctors with Albinism call on Sunday, July 12th. This is a call open for any medical students or physicians with albinism. So if you fall into that camp, it is a good time. I have heard, I have not been because I am not a doctor, but I've heard it's a good time if you are. We have on Monday, July 6th, we have a pediatric eye care Q&A coming up. We have Dr. Porter who, oops, sorry, want to go backwards. Dr. Porter, who does our Seeing Beyond series, is a doctor and ophthalmologist, and we have two pediatric eye care specialists coming on to chat and answer your questions. So if you have a child with albinism, this might be a great call for you. I also just wanted to make you all aware that we do have a video library on our website of a lot of these calls, and it's on our YouTube channel, the NOAA YouTube channel. So a lot of these calls that are recorded, you can check them out there. This call is being recorded currently, and I will be emailing the link also to anyone who has signed up. And on July 13th, we have our next book club meeting. This is for adults with albinism, PWA book club. It is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna is what we are reading. And we always want to announce that fairly early so you can go ahead and start reading. So we have about 2 weeks. So go ahead and start reading if you're an adult with albinism and you want to join us for the book club. Also, we have less than a week now. We have about 4 days, but I wanted to let you all know that the late registration closes June 28th for NOAACon in Columbus, Ohio. All right, which is coming up very soon. And then the last thing is there will be a quick survey after this call that will pop up on your screen when you log off of Zoom. And please let us know how you enjoyed the call. If you have any feedback or suggestions for us, we'd love to hear it. So that's my little spiel. But I would love to welcome our three panelists tonight. Very excited. We have Robert Susick, Marc Barber, and Angela Adamo. And I will give them a chance to kind of quickly introduce themselves, but I wanted to talk about why we're doing this call. So most of our calls are either geared toward people with albinism, like either whether that be kids or teens with albinism or adults with albinism to come together and socialize and learn new things, or to parents. We have a lot of parent calls, we have newly diagnosed workshops, we have a parent connections and even grandparent connections. But we don't often hear from the perspective of here we have a grandparent, a spouse, and a sibling. And we don't hear those perspectives as much as the parents or the people with albinism. And so this was a call. Karen Bly, the executive director who is here tonight, she had kind of come up with the idea and we kind of tweaked it together and came up with this. And I think the three panelists we asked to come here tonight are perfect for this. And I do have some questions that I have sent them in advance. I have four questions for them. And some of them apply a little more to them than others. You'll see what I mean. But after I give them my questions, we can take questions or comments from the attendees. This is not necessarily an educational call, so we might not have as many questions, but if you do have a question or comment, we'd love to hear it after our pre-prepared questions. So real quick, before the questions get started, I'll start with you, Robert. If you could just just introduce yourself, where you're from, and your involvement in NOAA, and how long you've been around NOAA, please.
Yes, let's see. I live in North Carolina. I'm currently retired. Uh, Worked in pharmaceutical drug discovery and development for my professional career. Got involved with NOAA probably 8 years ago, shortly after my grandson Liam was diagnosed with albinism, and Casey, I can't tell you, and Karen, what a valuable resource NOAA has been to our family and to me in particular. And that's what we're going to talk about. Uh, because, boy, I knew almost nothing about albinism 8 years ago, and
Yeah.
I know a whole lot more. Uh, and that's been really important to me. So yeah, I've been going to most of the NOAACon meetings, the conferences, and anyone that's listening, I would highly recommend it. And I'll speak to some of the things that I've gotten from the NOAACon conferences.
Awesome. Thank you. Mark, you want to go next?
Sure. I started, I met my wife Marlena in like late 1999, early 2000. Of course, she was already an adult at that point, so it wasn't like sprung on me. I definitely met her well within her exploration of who she was as part of the albinism community. But I didn't start going to NOAA until 2010. She went in 2008. She met someone else that told her about the conferences, and so I started going in 2010. We've been going ever since. Just I'm if you see me around the conference, I'm usually kind of behind the scenes. I mean, I'm not I'm not usually like an official volunteer, but I always get roped into something since Marlena's always doing the music stuff and around there.
Yes, his wife Marlena Barber is kind of Noah famous a little bit.
I just
Actually, all of your like relatives with albinism are kind of well-known people in the community. So,
I just
yeah,
have to say, Mark, you are an official volunteer. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that, but you are.
I just never know what I have to do. You
you
just
can't get away.
I'm available.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark and Angela.
Yeah, my name is Angela Adamo. I first got involved with Noah when I was born. My older brother has albinism, so I kind of just, was along for the ride. Um, so we live in Chicago. We love going to the conference. It's our favorite. I tend to work with the kids conference, so some of your children might know me, which is always fun. I'm really excited for this year. And Joey is winning at life. So, oh, and you might know my mom, Sheila. She does the mother's workshop. So people tend to
Yes.
know her.
Awesome. Thank you. So, actually, my first question I have is kind of one of those that might not apply to everyone. And Angela, I'm kind of looking at you when I say this because the first question I have for the group is, did you have any misconceptions about albinism before having a family member with it? And what have you learned about it since? And Angela, I was going to start with you for this one, but you
Yeah,
clearly, I mean, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but clearly you were born and already had a brother with
yeah.
albinism. So I doubt you had any misconceptions. I don't know if you have anything though that you'd want to say to that.
No, I was pretty in tune with it, I think,
Yeah.
for the most part. So
And this is something I'll ask you though, specifically being a sibling growing up in that, did it feel always just really normal to you?
it did. It didn't strike me as something that was like not odd, but unique. Like realizing that this wasn't the same as everyone's. Like I thought that this was like what everyone had with their older sibling until I was probably in middle school, and I was like, oh, this is different. There are
Mhm.
things done differently. We do um, have a little bit of an adaptive lifestyle in some ways. And I just like had never thought about that before. And suddenly I realized that, well, we're only a year apart, so we're only 1 year apart in school. So we've been like together the whole time. So it was extremely normal for me, and it felt like everyone around me, at school, family events, stuff like that. So I was a little older when I had that moment, but I did have it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love these different perspectives, because the sibling perspective is something so unique where you do grow up with the person the whole time. And so if any of you here are listening, you have a sibling with albinism or you have kids that have a sibling. I have a sibling without albinism. I think she still forgets I have albinism just because I'm just her sister. Like it's just normal for us, you know? So yeah, I love that perspective. So Mark, I'll go to you next. Did you have any misconceptions about albinism before meeting Marlena, and what have you learned since?
I mean, I just had whatever, the media was feeding us at the time. The Princess Bride has the albino. I mean, I met Marlena before the Da Vinci Code came out, so it's not like that influenced anything. I didn't really have any, it's a thing. It affected the way people look, and that's all I knew about it at the time. I mean, I knew it was a melanin thing and that there was sun problems, but past that, I didn't know about the vision, how the way it affects vision, and so of course I learned that after meeting Marlena. Since going to some of the NOAA stuff, I mean, one of the hardest parts about the vision thing is, of course, is that it trying to describe to someone else how you see is is almost impossible because you're perceiving the world on your own the way you've always done it. So I really did like the last couple the NOAA conferences, although it's been a few years since Matt Bailey did his how we see panels. The one that Elizabeth did the last two conferences were I thought were really informative about the vision stuff. Um, but I didn't really have any biases against PWAs or anything before I met Marlena. Um, but it's just been a learning experience about all the little pieces and you know growing with her and learning all that stuff.
Yeah, awesome. I love that perspective. Yeah, a lot of people don't know the vision part comes with it. So I think that's interesting. And then, Robert, what about you? Did you have any misconceptions and what have you learned since the birth of your grandson?
Yeah, Casey, it's sort of along Mark's lines. I don't know that I had any misconceptions, but boy, was I ignorant. Uh,
Mm,
I really knew nothing about it, other than, they lacked pigmentation. Uh, and what I've learned is, and I'm still learning, is a boatload. And Noah has been my conduit in all of your various forms for my education and understanding. Uh, and I know that's impacted my relationship with my grandsons. What I've learned goes from I think the profound to the mundane. Like Mark, I never knew about the impact of pigmentation on the retina and the impact that has on vision. Uh, and low vision, we'll have 20/20, 20/30 vision, pigmented individuals. People with albinism can be 150, 180. But then what does that mean? And is it Elizabeth, Mark, that gave that lecture that I attended? And she showed us what people with albinism see because she's an artist. And she drew that collection of still objects on a table in her basement, what she saw at 20 feet, 15 feet, 10 feet, and 5 feet, and close up, and then compared it to a photograph. And what I learned is people with albinism have perfect vision up close. It's just that it starts to, visual acuity drops off pretty quickly. But then she had us draw what we saw at 20 feet, us with, pigmented eyes. And I didn't get, I mean, I wear glasses. I don't have perfect vision. Uh, and then learning about when you have low vision, how you accommodate it. And that's important. And learning about the research going on. And that I learned from the conferences, the various doctors, the researchers that from NIH that come and present their findings. Because as a scientist, I can ask a million questions, and I'm hungry for the answers and learning what is the current state of the art in understanding and knowledge. Also, I learned that there are many types of albinism. How many different mutations there are, and they're finding more and more. So each mutation represents a different genotype, which translates to a different phenotype or set of characteristics. It's not just a single entity. I learned that. The mundane was I learned that sunscreens have expiration dates on them. I'd never realized that. I used sunscreens for years, the same one, or that you have to reapply things, sunscreens quite frequently during the day. Yeah, so
No, those are great. I love the very scientific and then the very like day-to-day sunscreen knowledge that that we've gained. And even people with albinism gain a lot of this knowledge through Noah. Um, and the session that Mark and Robert were talking about, it's Elizabeth Schaefer. She's the artist. I believe it's called How We See, and I believe it's on our YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a very, very good session. So Mark, we can start with you now. Um, so Mark, how has Noah helped you and your loved one specifically?
Well, when Marlena was growing up, she grew up in a small town, and so, you know, the small town doctors didn't know much about her condition. She had a brother with it, but other than that, no one around had albinism. So it was just always something that was unique to herself as far as she was concerned. And being able to connect with Noah, just to realize that, like, look how many people, we looked at, I don't know, 10 years ago, after we hit 1,000 people at the conference, that all these people who have these, who have albinism, that she can realize that there's a resource for her to talk to figure out those little problems. These meetings that we're having, like the one right now, where you've got all sorts of different connections that she attends, and just talk about how, like, she does pairing without pigment a lot. And one of the things is that before we had kids, she was always like, I don't know about this kid thing. It seems like it's going to be a lot of work, and I don't know how to, she just needed to see that other people like her, it's fine. It's not, it's just as hard for people with albinism as it is for the rest of us, and that there's no extra thing there. And um, she got connected with the research studies last conference, and she got to find out what kind of albinism she has, and she's super excited about that. And it feels like even though it changes nothing from day to day, she feels like she knows more about herself, but which is kind of the stuff that connecting with other people like you can do. And she's really benefited from the community here.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. She's the best mom too. So yeah, that those groups though, it's so great to see other people doing those things that we don't know if we can do them until we see other people with albinism. We're like, they could do it. I got this. I got this. So that's why community is so important. Um, Angela, what about you? How has Noah helped you and or your loved one?
So it was so early, like it's just been a constant forever. So it was always really hard to pinpoint exactly what the benefit, not the benefit, there was clearly benefit, but the impact necessarily was, because I've been going to NOAA conferences since I was a baby. And we've been involved for as long as I can remember. But when I started working with the kids conference, I really realized sort of that there was a huge benefit for me and my entire family. And I didn't even like notice necessarily. The community aspect is super important, especially for young people or middle schoolers, who just every middle schooler feels like kind of the only person going through what they're going through. So when they get to experience being with someone else who's having the same very unique life moment as they are, that is really impactful, even if they don't necessarily like hash anything out about it. It's just nice to sit next to someone and feel like you're not the odd man out. Um, and seeing kids meet other kids with albinism for the first time ever is my favorite. It's my favorite ever. I had a child at the last NOAA conference who very clearly has like with their parent had created a sort of script to say whenever they went to camp or a new school or like some sort of something where there was an adult who might not know what albinism is. And she marched right up to me. She was like, my name is so and so, and I have albinism, and it means that I really need to keep my sunscreen on me, and I have a cane. And what the cane is, and I'm like, okay. And you just, but then she turns around and there's like four other kids with a cane and a whole room of people who looks like her. And that's really impactful, especially from a young age. And I really too, seeing other siblings who have it so different but also so similar was always fun. I have many friends who I met at a very young age, um, who even just getting to talk to them was always really helpful for me. And then, yeah, and having a mom be so involved as well, seeing the impact that it had on us and now the impact we can give back is always has been really important for our whole family.
That's great. And we thank you so much too for your volunteering and giving back also. We love those lifelong Noah friendships. Robert, what about you, Robert? How has Noah helped you and your loved ones?
Yeah, I'll sound a little repetitive, but it's a good repetition. Noah's been a wonderful source of information, community, and fellowship. And to Angela's point, I have two grandsons, they're now 8 and 4, and they both have albinism. And several years ago, so Cameron wasn't born yet, but my daughter had organized a fundraiser at a bowling alley uh, for Noah and invited all the local people with albinism and friends and family for this bowling fundraiser. And Liam was probably, he might have been 3 at the time or 4. Uh, and he'd been going to daycare, so he'd been seeing that he was different than other people. Never expressed anything to us, but when I got there, he comes up to me and says, "Grandpa, look, there's a little boy there that looks just like me," and he had this soaring in his persona that it was reassuring to him, that he's not alone, that there are other people that deal with this. And frankly, we all deal with various issues, and his is albinism. But to know that there's this community that he's a part of and will be there for him and with him, for the rest of his life, it's very comforting.
Absolutely. And I love that from that young of an age that he saw that too. So I'm kind of popping back and forth. So actually we'll start with you, Robert. I know you just answered, but we'll start with you this time. What advice, and so my question is the way I worded this question is what advice would you give to other spouses, siblings, and grandparents of someone with albinism? But specifically for you, Robert, what advice would you give to other grandparents of someone with albinism?
Yeah, and I did think about that, and I have two thoughts that I sort of jotted down. One was to take advantage of the many resources and connections that NOAA provides, because those of us that this is new to, and there's been no history of albinism in it. My wife's family, my in-laws, my son-in-law's families, this just came out of, nowhere. So we were all so ignorant and had so many questions. And Noah has been there to sort of hold our hand through this whole process of learning about it, and coming to terms, coming up with the strategies for accommodations. And our state of North Carolina, frankly, is wonderful. I didn't add that earlier, but since both of my grandsons were diagnosed, they have been assigned a low vision specialist. And that low vision specialist goes to every year to their various schoolrooms, daycare facilities, to educate the teachers and the caregivers about what accommodations would be helpful. things like where the desk is pointed, towards a window or away from a window, what the lighting is or should be. And we've had some classrooms where they've actually swapped out the lights. The bright fluorescent lights were difficult and glaring, and the school put in lights that frankly was better for everyone. So take advantage of the many resources that NOAA affords. Whatever you need, I think NOAA has something for you. And then know that we all have challenges. And I think I mentioned this before. We all have various issues that we deal with through our lives. And my grandsons, their main issue is albinism. Well, you recognize it and you learn to live these wonderfully accomplished, productive lives, which we all do with whatever deficits each of us have. And so that's just a level of reassurance. When we were first presented with this news, we were all concerned and upset. And that, as we've learned more and been a part of this community, that's dissipated. It's now, all right, what great things are Liam and Cameron going to do? And they do them every single day.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I do think the longer you're in the community, it does start to feel that way, that burden is lifted for many people. Angela, I'll go to you next. Okay, so I can ask this question to you in two ways almost, and you can answer it either way you want or both. But what advice would you give to a sibling of someone with albinism, but also maybe for any parents listening, would you give any advice to parents on how to parent? Like, I'm sure some parents are like, okay, I have this child with albinism, I have a child that doesn't have albinism. What can I do, or what impacted you maybe growing up that you appreciated, or something like that? Oh no. I didn't know if that was my service or hers. We lost her. Wait, she's back. Angela, we lost you. Hello. Oh no. She's frozen for me, and I don't know if that's a
Hello.
me. Hello?
Hello?
Angela,
Is
you
it
there?
working?
We can hear you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can hear you now.
I am here.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
amazing. Sorry.
No worries. Oh no.
Well,
You're
connection.
freezing up still a bit.
Let me see.
Okay, that maybe is a little better.
Okay.
Maybe turn your video off, Angela.
Yeah, that may help.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Does that
Okay.
help?
Does that help?
Yep. But now we hear you twice though. So oh,
Okay. I
there
deleted
you go.
her, the
Okay,
other
yep, that's
one,
much better. Thank you.
my imposter, who was just me. Sorry about that. What was your question?
Yeah, just if you have any advice for siblings of people with albinism, or any advice for the parents raising a sibling and a child with albinism too.
So, for siblings, I think that one of the things that helped me, especially since me and my brother are so close in age, was having a lot of empathy for the questions that you get asked. And I think so. Joey never really was bullied because of the way he looked. And I have been like, because other kids were bullied for the way that they looked when they looked different. So I don't know if that was because I was there and people knew that I was there and maybe don't try that with me, or like if it was because we were very big on explaining things to people. I really don't know, but um, having people, because they do feel nervous to ask questions, but questions are normal. The questions are sometimes ignorant and, not always phrased nicely, but a question is a question. So making sure you have your knowledge and sharing your knowledge is always really helpful. And that reduces some of that stigma um, of albinism. So one time a girl, oh my God, she asked me if he was allergic to the sun.
Yep.
And I said, well, technically we're all allergic to the sun. Like if you really want to think about it like that. Um, and it's like that could have been, instead of taking that as like a mean type of question, it's let's talk about that and understand what the implications of having more or less melanin in your skin are. And granted, like these junior high kids aren't signing up for that when they're asking you a silly question, but um, I find that it's always best to be open and willing to talk to people about it. And being a sibling of anyone is always an ordeal. So my advice, I have two other siblings where there's four of us, and I did a sibling panel at the NOAA conference in Orlando. And one of my favorite questions that I was asked actually had nothing to do with albinism. And it was a girl who I think their older sibling was going to college, and she wanted to know how we stay connected as adults. And making sure you maintain a strong relationship as siblings and friends with the people that you grow up with is really special and really helpful, because being able to talk to each other about these things too is really, really, really helpful. And even like when I'm having issues, being able to talk to my brother about them is special. And the one thing though that I do like, because I am someone who was very like fight for the people you care about and advocate and do all this stuff. And I was always so ready to do that. But I was never ready to do that for myself when I needed it. And I think I just sort of forgot about that. And so the one thing that I would say is make sure that you're also still making room for yourself and your own well-being and your own advocacy if you ever need it. Because at the end of the day, if everyone's getting what they need, then everyone's going to be better at living life. And that's what I would say for parents too, because it is hard when one child has more needs than another child. And that's like across the board, any disability, any circumstance, anything at all. And we do have a big family. So my parents did a really good job at making sure none of us felt like there was less care or less attention given to us. And I think they were really cognizant about that because my mom's a therapist. So she's like cognizant about everything. But I can see very easily how that could get kind of lost in the sauce, because I feel like as a parent, you're just putting out fires for 18 years and then probably still putting out fires after that. And then you have multiple fires and you're like, that would be stressful for me. So I'm really, in hindsight, I'm very appreciative of my parents and my other siblings and my brother, because I feel like the relationship we have with each other and our, closeness in age partnered with our ability to inform others really made for an easier growing up experience. That was really long-winded, but
No, that was great. That was so great, though. That had so many good nuggets of wisdom in there. I loved it. That was a great answer. Thank you. And then Mark, for you, if someone is like, I want to date someone with albinism or marry someone with albinism from the spouse's perspective, I mean, I'm sure it's very similar to being with anybody else, but do you have any kind of advice?
I think when I was thinking about the answer to this question, I think one of the things that came to me was that whether you're someone you're dating or your spouse, or they're your kid, or they're your grandkid, uh, don't try to limit what someone with albinism can do because you think they can't do it. Don't tell your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, your kid that like, oh wait, you should let's be careful about that because you can't see. Don't don't tell them, hey, oh, I don't know that we can go out to the beach today because you're you can't be in the sun for that long. Don't don't do that. Just because, as we can look at, everybody we see at the conference, you know, there's no limits on any of the, the PWAs out there, right? We've got lawyers and doctors and firefighters, all the things. We can do they can do all the things. And there's no limits there, just because some of them can't drive, some of them can. Just because, some people choose to have a guide dog and some of them don't choose to have a guide dog. There's no, you don't need to go out there and try to tell them. Let them tell you what they can do. I never tell Marlena she can't do something. We're just like, okay, let's figure out how it's going to work. Just because, she can't drive, I can't take her everywhere. Well, thank goodness we got Uber and Lyft now. Now she can get there. Or, she had an O&M instructor that taught her how to use the bus. She was very nervous about that, but she learned how to take the bus. Um, now she's a big advocate for herself, and I don't put any limits on her. And like I said, that applies to your spouse. Or, but you'd probably even do it more with like your kids. Like if you've got a kid with albinism, you're like, I need to baby you, and I need you to be careful, and I don't want you to hurt yourself, and I don't want you to get in a situation. Let them fly. They can do it.
I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you. And the last question I have prepared, and I say it that way because we can take questions or comments from people listening, but the last one I have prepared is it's a warm and fuzzy, fun one. Robert, we'll start with you. How has your loved one with albinism enriched your life? How has knowing someone with albinism changed your life?
Wow. In terms of my role as a grandparent, I only have two grandsons, and they both have albinism. So I don't know how them specifically having albinism has changed my life. Although sharing this deficit, if whatever the correct word is, which is mostly low vision and then looking different than most other people, with them has been something that I've thought a lot about. And my response to myself and my recommendation to other grandparents that might be listening to this is to be actively and energetically involved in your grandchildren's lives. I think all relationships are special, but I'm biased now because this is the phase of my life. I think the relationship of a grandparent to a grandchild is something super special. And I want my two grandsons to be comfortable in their non-pigmented skin. And I want them to have a great self-esteem. And that just means spending time with them. And retirement, my definition of retirement is the gift of time. So us grandparents have that gift, and we can share that with our grandkids and help them develop that comfort in their own skin, their self-esteem, and that will give them the characteristics, the ability to prosper through their lives for the rest of their lives. I don't know if I answered the question you asked, but
No, that was perfect. That was great. And I knew this would be like a heartfelt question because that was just a really great answer. Angela, how has your loved one with albinism enriched your life?
I feel like I want to go hug my grandma.
Oh, I know. I felt
I
that.
feel like I'm so enriched by having my grandma. I feel like I have a lot of empathy in ways that growing up I noticed other people didn't necessarily. Like there's like this epidemic going around of people taking pictures of strangers in public. And as smartphones and Snapchat and things like blow up, it's just a common thing that happens. Whereas before it was kind of rare. And everyone comes to a moment where they realize that that's not cool and that's inappropriate and wrong. And I like have always known that because people will try to take pictures of Joey in public, and that is like automatic no, 0 out of 10. And it's moments like that that occur to me where I'm like, wait, I wouldn't have known this otherwise.
Mm.
And thus I am treating the strangers around me inadvertently, or maybe I'm not treating them better, but I'm like being less harmful as a person in the world by already knowing not to do that and already knowing the correct way to ask questions about something that I don't know much about and having this ability to be an advocate in ways that I don't know if I would have had otherwise. Um, and I also feel really enriched just having Joey around. I mean, he's super smart and like really
That's
into
an understatement.
space. He he's almost done with his PhD in astrophysics. I will tell anyone who will listen.
Yeah,
Super proud.
amazing.
He, I mean, and he's also very good at which not a lot of people have this skill where you can ask a really complex question and he can explain it to you in a way that doesn't make you feel stupid.
Mm.
And I really value that because I'm curious about space all the time. And am I gonna understand the answer? I don't know. Time delineation is weird, but um it's really special to have someone both so close in age. We had a lot of the same friends, and to have just an older brother is really special. So I think this made our relationship closer than it would have been otherwise, maybe, because we were paired together for so much stuff. But I think about it a lot. Like, would our relationship be that much different? And I don't know if it really would be. I think I might have not felt like I needed to look out for him so much, but I mean, he's still a science kid, like, so I don't
Yeah.
know if any of that would have been different. And it's not even really necessarily worth wondering. Um,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like a thought experiment, sort of. I think a lot about how different it would be if he was a girl, because I think we would have hated each other. I don't know. I think we would have stolen each other's clothes. And but it also would have been a lot of fun to have a girl you can gossip with. We have all the same, I don't know, rabbit hole. But
Yeah.
um I like to treat everything in life as some form of enrichment. And especially when you are an adult, you start really valuing your siblings more when you don't live together. So,
Yeah. I love that. I love it. Very hard, very sweet answer. And Mark, how has your loved one with albinism enriched your life?
Well, since there was a couple of conferences ago, we had like a session that was for those of us who were pigmentos, and it was kind of just a kind of a safe space to get to have little complaints that no one get to hear about. And so this is going to sound like one of those, but you know, because Marlena doesn't drive, there's almost no assumption that she's going to go do stuff without me a lot. So I've gotten to do many more things than I probably would have done. You know, if I didn't have to take her, if she, you know, she could take herself, I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to go to your thing. But you know, now that there's a, I mean, she Ubers a lot, but there's usually an assumption that you know I gotta go with her to some sort of event, and I've just you know got to do so many things that you know she gets to do because you know she's a disability advocate because you know she has a disability, and that's just exposed me to so much, not just you know albinism and low vision, but I know artists who are have mobility issues and other intellectual disabilities and just to you know be around those kinds of people, and I think it's really made me more empathetic. You know, when it's far away from you, it's easy to be like those poor people, but you know when you're actually in there and you speak to those people and you find out how vibrant everybody is, you know, I mean, not only me, my girls too, they're so empathetic because they've
Mm.
just been exposed to you know, people with disabilities and you know, my older daughter, you know, they'll strike up conversations at some of these events too, and you know, just I don't know, I don't know what I would, you know, how I'd be if it wasn't for all of the things that she's exposed me to because you know of the communities that she's involved in, not just Noah, although Noah's a
Yeah.
nice community too, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't have done the virtual choir without her. I did like doing that.
Exactly. That's the most important. No, that's a wonderful answer. Oh my gosh, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. I love it. I love it so much. And I hope it's making it's striking a chord with everyone listening too, and anyone listening to this recording also. Does anybody before those were all my questions. So before we go, though, I want to know if anyone has any comments or questions for any of our panelists. So you can type in the chat or you can just unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, yeah, I do, Casey. This is Lindsay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hi. First off, thank you so much. This has been such a lovely and heartwarming and just really soul fulfilling conversation. So thank you all for your time and perspectives. As a parent of a child with albinism, it's really kind of just a wonderful perspective from someone who also, Robert was surprised with the diagnosis, didn't have it in the family, and really felt like we were coming from zero knowledge to get up skilled on everything. So my question is, all of you have a lot more knowledge about the conference and the community than myself and my husband and our family do. Our daughter actually doesn't physically present kind of classically as that she has albinism. And so, in a strange way, we don't feel sometimes like as connected to the community, um, even though she has albinism and she has all the same impairments, right? She's visually impaired and she needs to be protected from the sun. And sometimes when we're outside and she's got the hat and the glasses and the shades, and people probably think we just look like overbearing parents because she has darker hair and you can't tell that she has she doesn't have white eyelashes. You know, you wouldn't look at her and think she has albinism, right? But she does. So it's sort of a invisible disability. So my question for you is, if we went to the conference, would we see maybe other people like her? If she went, Angela, to the kids club, like would she meet other kids that maybe don't look like they're a person with albinism, but you know, would she be able to see, oh, that person, she doesn't have a cane, but you know, that person maybe has glasses like me and they have hair like me too. I guess I'm sort of trying to see whether she could find a way to fit
Yeah.
in her own unique way.
I think that I remember when I must have been 14 or 15. It was a NOAA conference, and one of my friends who I made, her older brother had albinism, and their entire family was blonde. And he had a blonde tint to his hair, and he had good vision for, relatively speaking. And he like was the king of his friend group. He like he fit in. He had all of these experiences. I think he was friends with my brother for a little while. And he had as much fun as everyone else. And I will say too that the kids specifically are open to everything. They're just really excited to be there. And they're really excited to eat lunch at noon. And because there's always French fries. And they're like, it's a lot like every other place with kids, except for, you know, a lot of them have visual impairments and not all of them have canes. There's always a few of them. There's always a moment where they'll like consider a sword fight and you have to like shut that down because no. But I've seen a lot of really beautiful friendships blossom between every kind of like a person with albinism and a sibling of a person with albinism and people without albinism, people with albinism, people who don't look like they have albinism, and people who do look like they have albinism. I think it's always a really good experience. Um, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I think she'll have a good time.
I can't keep my mouth shut with this question. I have to jump in. So I have albinism. I say that because I don't know if it's obvious. I don't have any makeup on right now, but when I do, I feel like it's even less obvious that I have albinism. My hair is like, I mean, it's blonde, but I have like darker eyes. Anyway, so I have albinism and I don't really look like I have albinism. Like I've never been, besides my nystagmus, my eyes moving, I've never had a comment ever, like in my life from someone on the street or a person. Like my pigmentation is like presenting, I don't want to say normally because, we don't really, I don't like to use the word normal because we're all normal. But I was worried about going to the NOAA conference for the same reason. And I was like, they're not even going to know I have albinism. They're going to leave me out. I'm not going to be included. And that like wasn't the case at all. I went and, I'm legally blind. So that's the way I really, personally relate to everybody. Like I don't necessarily relate to the looks as much. I mean, I am pale and blonde, but you know what I mean. But I do relate to the vision impairment, and that's why I needed the community so badly. And they were all so accepting. But I waited till I was like 18 to come to a NOAA conference because I was so scared of this very thing. And I'm sad I waited. I wish I had like done it, like been more involved younger. And I've never had a problem with people being super accepting. And we've had people even darker than me. We've had people with brown hair, red hair. And I know some of you might be like, that's possible. Yes, shockingly, that's possible. And yeah, and they like Karen can attest to the fact that at our adult weekend, we had some gentlemen there with like brown hair. And yeah, for a minute we were like, hey, are y'all family members or do you have albinism? But then when they told us they had albinism, we were like, cool. Like, sometimes you have to ask. But yeah, so I think
That's
I
awesome to hear.
think so.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you so much for confirming that. It's been this little feeling in our head, like, does she even belong in this place where she should belong? And so that's just a great confirmation that it's my own adult worry and that kids are kids and they love each
Yeah,
other and they're so much more accepting and
yeah,
we don't need to put our own worries on top of it. One more tiny question. I have two older kids that are a few years older than her. Are they welcome at the NOAA conference as well?
of
Okay,
course. Oh
Of
yes.
awesome.
course.
Yeah.
How old
Okay,
are your kids,
cool.
if you don't mind me asking? How old is
Yeah,
everyone?
so the our daughter with albinism is 1.5, and then the other kiddos are 3 and 6.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, they'll have a
Yeah,
ball. They'll have a
So
great
much
time.
fun.
awesome. Thank you so
Karen,
Siblings,
much.
yes,
Karen wants to say
10 out of
something, I think.
10.
Karen popped up. Karen.
When I've gone to pick my grandsons up after a NoahCon session, there are kids of all likes that come out of those rooms, and some are siblings and they don't have albinism, and they're just having as much fun as those
Yeah.
that do and everything in between. So when you go there, you will see rooms of kids of every visual appearance you can imagine.
Very true.
Yeah.
Lindsay,
Awesome.
I
Thank
also
you.
wanted to kind of piggyback off of what Casey said. Sometimes there are questions. Sometimes we're not sure if this person has albinism or they don't. One of the things we did in at the conference in 2024 was we put a different color bar on the bottom of the name badges. So the kids with albinism had a gold bar across the bottom and the kids without albinism had a red bar across the bottom, and so that was kind of like an easy visual for everybody to see. Again, sometimes you just can't tell, and that's kind of the beauty of it, and I don't want anybody to feel like they don't belong, so we're trying to kind of address that question you had. You're not alone in that question,
Oh
but
no.
we're trying to
Mm-mm.
address that, so please sign them up.
Thank you all so much. That's such a good thank you. Just thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
My apologies, I joined a bit late. My name is Rat. I'm joining you from Alberta, Canada.
Hi.
I have a 20-year-old with albinism, but now we're helping our community with younger kids with albinism. And yesterday I reached out to the youngest, who is 8 months old. I told them that my first pair of glasses for my son was from Noah when I was desperate for info.
Oh,
Yeah, when my boy was 1 year old, we got a pair sent by another parent from Noah, and the following year we went to Las Vegas for our first conference. So now we're just helping other parents, but does Noah sell those glasses that we can help people how we see those glasses that kind of make people understand how people with albinism see, so we can help other people understand.
yeah, that's a good question. Karen might be better at answering that. I don't know if Noah specifically sells it's the Karen, those glasses that if you put them on, it's like a simulator for how we see. Do you know anything about that? Where to find those?
Noah has a set of them, but it's not something that we give out. There was a like a little card that you could hold up in front of each eye and see differently. So that had like some of them had a film on them, some of them had like a dark spot in the center, and so just to kind of describe different visual conditions. I'm not sure whether that's what you were asking about, but yes, we do have simulation glasses, but that's kind of just a one set of we call them goggles, not more. They're goggles more than glasses. But we do have that we could bring to the conference and have people look through.
Elizabeth gave me a copy. I was so impressed with her lecture, a composite of those paintings that she drew. At the photograph, 0 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet. And for me, that gave me an understanding of what people with albinism see. I don't know if that would be helpful or whether she'd be, interested in doing that.
That's also in our video library.
Oh,
Okay, I would love to take a look at that. So
Casey,
thank
if
you
you
all.
could connect that the link to the recording of this, that would be good too.
Yes. Yes, I can. It's on our website.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Well, we have about 3 minutes left if anyone has a quick question. I mean, we don't have to be super tight on time, but just want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Grandpa's bedtime was a half hour ago,
I
but
know, right?
I'll hang in
It's
with
hard when we're doing the whole nation because the 4 hour, time difference for everybody. I know for Mark, it's like, Mark, I see the sun coming through.
Oh, it's super bright. I
That's
mean,
wild
listen, I don't
because
know why you're
it's
talking about
also
being
my
tight on
bedtime. I'm
time.
ready.
Be tight on time. Every time Marlena is on phone calls with you guys, she's always done like 45 minutes late.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's we go
We love
far.
the gap. We're talkers.
Oh yeah.
What happens on Connections calls stays on Connections calls is what I have to
It's
say,
true.
and I know it's being recorded. I do want to thank each of you for joining this panel, and I really appreciate we did kind of hand select these three individuals because we know that you had information that you could share with the rest of our community. So again, you are all volunteers. We recognize you all as volunteers. I appreciate each of you just taking the evening to share your insights with us. I did kind of find it a little bit funny and unexpected, the grandparent, spouse, and sibling relationship of all three of those. I have a sibling relationship. I have a sibling with albinism. I am a person with albinism. I have a sibling with albinism. I have a sibling without albinism. But Angela, I really think you're in a unique position because you highlighted the true sibling relationship, whether albinism is involved or not, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that you did that. So, again, grandparents, Bob, you're just you've got the best of all worlds. You've got the time if you're retired. You've got the two most adorable little guys that I've seen in a long time, and I got to spend some time with Liam at camp, and he's just fantastic. He is a superb young man. He's gonna make you proud whatever he does. I know it.
Oh yeah.
And Marlena, we all love her. So Mark, I know I can't say anything more about Marlena that you don't already know because we gush about her every chance we get. But I appreciate each of you too.
And I'm going to give my future spouse your advice, Mark, to let me do everything that I want to do and not be afraid to tell me no. I think that's what you said. So that's what I heard.
That sums it up. Yeah.
That's what I heard. Okay, cool. I think
Just link him
that's
this
great.
video and say this is
No, but truly, I
Mark,
echo Karen.
Mark says happy wife, happy life, I think is what I heard him say. Yes.
He said, don't stop people with albinism from trying, I am here for it. I'm just kidding. But yeah, thank you all so much. And for everyone who came tonight too. And it was so great. It was so great to hear these perspectives from people we don't always get to hear from. So we really appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all. And this recording will be sent to everyone. So be on the lookout for that in your email in the next week. All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
See you all at conference if any of you
Bye.
coming. So
Thank you.
Bye.